Yeah, it's pretty funny today that everybody's talking about NFTs and jumping on the NFT bandwagon, and we did start that process in 2019. Very exciting technology, and the ability to take a digital asset like a piece of digital art and ascribe a token to it so that you can monetize it. Like, it's a no-brainer in that situation. What we discovered very early on though is if you consider the piece of digital art, that digital art just doesn't happen. There is a creative process that takes place in the lead up to that piece of digital art being finalised. And the problem with an NFT is the minute you mint it, if you change any aspect of that piece of digital art after you've minted the NFT, that NFT is no longer, well, it's obsolete. Because when you change the piece of digital art, you actually need to create a new NFT. So it's conceivable if you have a piece of digital art that's had 5 or 6 iterations, you could end up with 5 or 6 NFTs that all relate to the same piece of art. Which one's the real one? Who would know? And that's what got us thinking in 2019 around, well, hang on, let's think about, is it possible we can create a token, and if that piece of art is updated, that the token stays the same, but there's a log history of what's actually been updated along the way. We followed that process through, and when we consequently developed our EATs, or as the name implies, an evolving asset token. All digital assets, or any asset at all, has an evolutionary process to the point that it's ready for sale. And we've designed these tokens to faithfully capture that process. And if you were to compare an NFT and an EAT, if you have the history of the EAT and you just have the NFT, the EAT is infinitely more useful because it provides protection or evidence against fraud, primarily because it's one thing to mint something at the end of it. Really hard to, or you've got to be really invested to fraudulently create a history and then try to sell the asset going forward. Inherently, EATs are far more valuable than NFTs, and that's basically where we ended up landing.